Okay, good morning, folks. Welcome to another free online GCSE Maths lesson in collaboration with LGfL. We're going to start in a minute or so. It's almost 11 o'clock, so we'll get started. This is the Stock Market Challenge Part 2. So the second part, if you wasn't here for the first part, it's okay though. You still will be able to pick up what we're doing for the first part. And like I said, we'll be commencing in about 1 minute. Okay, folks, let's make a start. So, Stock Market Challenge Part 2. Okay, let's get going. Introduction, it's Mr. Smart here again, delivering another session, and we're trying to make it a bit more relevant, a bit more fun, but still making it relevant to your exams and beyond. Today's session, pen, pencil, paper, calculator, standard stuff. You will need the calculator today though, that will be important. Okay, so make sure you've got one handy, please. How does it work? Anything in blue is basically something for you to have a go at, so work out the following percentage increases, decreases. So first one, increase £100 by 40%. Second one, decrease £300 by 30%. If you see anything in purple or with a purple background, that represents a slightly harder task or something you need to think differently about. And anything with a yellow box with answer written on it is covering a solution. And just to give you an example here, if I remove that, the answers to the two questions above. So if you increase £100 by 40%, you'd have £140. And if you decrease £300 by 30%, you'd have £210. So there's just to give you an idea of how it works. So to get started, okay, lesson objectives today. These are the first three are the same as from the previous session, but we've added on an extra two lesson objectives. I'll go through them all. The first one is to interpret information from tables and graphs. We're going to calculate percentage increases and decreases, calculate percentage profit or loss, make calculations involving repeated percentage change, not using the formulae, and using compound interest. So all of those things we're going to attempt to cover in this session. And by the end, these are the questions that we want to be answering. Okay, so there's a couple of exam questions here that we're going to get to before the end of the session. The first one is compound interest, which you just saw the lesson objective for that. And the one underneath, the one at the bottom, is where the interest rate is not the same. So for instance, the interest rate is changing from 1 year to the next. And that is a slightly more complicated, or you just need to think a little bit more carefully about those types of questions. But we will get to both of those questions before the end of the session today. So let's get you warmed up. If you could have a look at the three examples here and have a go at them yourselves just to get you warmed up. So first one, you see it's in blue, increase £180 by 15%. The second one, work out the percentage decrease, round to the nearest percent. So in 2019 a phone cost £1,300 or £1,300. In 2020 the phone costs £900, so clearly the price has gone down by £400. But what is that as a percentage decrease? And then example 3, and this one something we might need to go over and spend a bit more time on. Susie deposits £10,000 in a bank. The money increases by 4% every year, and I've put in brackets compound interest. How much does Susie have after 2 years? And I'll let you have a think. And you'll need a bit of time on that one. I will go through example 1 after a minute or so, and then example 2 a couple of minutes after that, and then example 3 at the end. All right, off you go, folks. Get warmed up. Okay, that first one, increase £180 by 15%. I mean, there's different ways you could do this. And some of you may have just worked out 10% of 180 in your head, which is 18, and then worked out 5% and just added it on. But the way I want us to start thinking today, because it will be particularly useful at the end, when we come to do that exam questions that I've just shown you, is I'm going to think about the original as 100% all the time. And I know it's an increase of 15%, so I'm going to add on that 15%, and that will give me 115%. And then I'm going to convert that percentage into a decimal. So to do that, we always divide by 100. So as I'm sure you're all aware, you've probably been doing this since primary school. So 115% divided by 100 will give me 1.15. And then I'm going to use that. So I'm going to multiply 180 by 1.15. And I can do that on my calculator, obviously. And that gives me £207. And we can check that that's right in our heads, because we know that 10% was 18, so 5% would be 9. 18 add 9 is £27, and 180 add £27 would give me £207. So that I know that I'm correct. Even in my head, I could check that one quite quickly. And it's quite good to get in the habit of trying to mentally check your calculations as you go if you can, or at least make sure they're in the right vicinity, the right ballpark, because then you can sort of common sense check a lot of answers, particularly in a high pressure situation when you're in an exam situation. So I'll go through the next one shortly, okay, but I'll give you another few seconds to work through them. I just wanted you to understand where that 1.15 had come from in my working out. It hadn't just randomly been made up. That's where it's come from. So in 2019, a phone costs £1,300. In 2020, the phone costs £900. Work out the percentage decrease, and I've said round to the nearest percent. So here I'm thinking about how much has it gone down by? How much has the price gone down by? Well, to work that out, I would do 900 take away 1,300. It's gone down by 400. So I'm going to get a negative here, which is kind of what you expect to happen. And then I'm going to divide it by the original price, and the original price here was 1,300. And this here is going to give me a decimal, and I'm going to times that decimal by 100 to turn it into a percentage, round to the nearest percent, and it's negative 31%, which means it's a decrease. Okay, and could you check that answer quickly? Well, yes, you could. If I think about 100 take away 31, what would that give me? Okay, it would give me 69. If I do 1,300 multiplied by 0.69, it should get me back to 900. And I'm not going to do that, but I always know how to check these answers as I'm going. That's why I like percentages, actually, because I think you can quite easily get really good at them and checking your answers all the time as you go. Okay, hopefully you all got that one. Just move the answer box out of the way. And then this one here, Susie deposits, the third one, slightly trickier. Susie deposits £10,000 in a bank. The money increases by 4% every year. So this basically means the interest rate is constant, and it's compound interest. How much does Susie have after 2 years? And I've split this one up into something a little bit simpler here. And I've said, okay, initial investment, you can see here I've put as £10,000. And the value after year one, so that £10,000 is invested, it goes up by 4%. So at the end of year one, we're going to have £10,400. Now you could easily work that one out in your head. You could work out 4% of 10,000 in your head probably. But what did I do? How did I do it? Well, I multiplied it by 1.04. But where did this 1.04 come from? And this 1.04 came from doing exactly the same thing as I did up here at the beginning. I thought about the original, which was 100%. I added on 4%, because we know it's an increase by 4%. It tells us in the question. That gave me 104%. And then I converted that percentage into a decimal, which was 1.04. And that's where that 1.04 has come from. Again, it hasn't just come from nowhere. We've worked it out. There's a reason why that's there. Then I've got the £10,400, and I multiply that by 1.04 again, and we get £10,816 as our final answer. That's how much Susie has after the 2 years. And we could have done that calculation in a different way, and I'm sure most of you probably did. We could have done 10,000 multiplied by 1.04 squared. And why squared? Well, we're multiplying by 1.04 once here, and then again here. So it's timesing by itself. So it would be 1.04 squared. Some of you would be thinking, well, if it was 3 years, would it be to the power of 3? Yes, it would. If it was after 4 years, would it be to the power of 4? Yes, it would. So that's the mechanism that we use for compound interest if we're using sort of the formula. But I want us to be careful about that because of that question we're going to get to at the end. Okay, so moving back onto the stock market challenge idea, this was the fourth Newsflash. Now, we did the first 3 last week, and I just need you to read, it's going to take you a few minutes, but I just need you to read each sector. We've got a Newsflash that covers the construction industry, the airline industry, the energy industry, and the banking industry. And I want you to pick which sector or sectors you would invest in based on this information. So you need to read this carefully and then just pick which industries you think are doing well, which industries you think might be wiser to invest in. Have a think, give you a couple of minutes. It'll take a while to read it and process it, so I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, I realise this is a lot of reading, and you'd be thinking, well, you know, I didn't log on to this online lesson to have an English lesson. But if you want to link it to something real, any of you that are interested in investing in things, you're going to have to, you know, process a lot of information. So you're going to have to read stuff and interpret graphs and charts, and that's just the nature of the beast, particularly if you're going to invest in companies. So I've read through these again quickly. Obviously, I wrote these. This is fictional, and it was before the COVID outbreak. Okay, so these are fictional, and it was written a few years ago. So it's not meant to reflect anything that's currently happening. Just to say that. But let's have a look at the construction industry first. The construction industry continues to struggle as people find obtaining credit harder. The luxury end of the property market continues to grow. This is particularly true in exclusive parts of London. Okay, it doesn't sound like the construction industry is doing particularly well, but if you had a company that specialised in exclusive properties in parts of London, they may be doing quite well still, even though everybody else isn't doing so well. So I might look at companies specifically that are doing well in that part of London. Okay, so I'm not going to rule the construction industry out totally. Let's look at the airline sector. The airline sector is still struggling, and many carriers have stopped flying to certain destinations. Fuel costs have also risen, meaning airlines are making less profit. Okay, it looks to me like airlines are really struggling at the moment. I'm not going to go there. And some people would be thinking the other way around. They're saying, right, I'm going to buy the share price when it's really low and hope that it goes back up again. And that's what people do. But we can't do every scenario in 45 minutes, okay, online. It's not feasible. So I'm going for the ones, I'm trying to invest in companies and sectors that are performing well currently. That's my sort of main objective here, my mindset. If we have a look at energy, energy prices continue to rise as demand globally continues to increase. This is bad news for customers as gas and electric bills seem set to continue rising. Some energy suppliers who generate energy from renewable sources are not increasing their prices. These companies have seen a very sharp increase in their number of customers. Okay, I'm looking at that there, and I'm thinking if there's any energy suppliers that have got renewables, they're getting a lot of customers, so their share price is probably going up, and so are their profits potentially. So I'm going to look at the energy sector and specifically focusing on any of those companies that are involved in renewables. And then let's have a quick look at banking. Number of people falling behind with their mortgage payments continues to rise. This has directly affected banks' cash flow, and the banks are now not lending as much money as they were this time 12 months ago. That looks to me like it's not going to be one that I'm going to look at. So I'm going to have a quick look at construction and energy, and I'm going to look at the companies that I know something about in those areas. And I'm not going to spend lots of time on this because we're going to run out of time, but I'm going to look at the companies now. I'm going to look at their accounts and just some information on them. So have a quick look at this first one. Just take a minute, have a quick look at it. Okay, sector is construction, Smart Construction Limited. Current share price is 100 pence. And you can see that that fits with the graph there. Okay, 100 pence. It's on the graph. Turnover. That means basically the amount of money that comes in and out of the company. Okay, turnover sort of sounds like, you know, you're churning the money over. Is 5,500,000, and they make a profit. So that's what they actually make of 100,000. And the balance of the bank account is £21,315, which isn't really a lot of money if you think about a turnover of 5,500,000. And let's have a look at the share price. If you look at that graph here of the share price over the last 24 months, it's been going downwards. Okay, so I'm not convinced that I'd invest in Smart Construction Limited right now. Let's have a quick look at the next one. Okay, Very Smart Building Company. I'll let you have a look at this one yourselves. Turnover, profit, balance of bank account, and look at the graph of the share price over the last 24 months. Would you be more or less likely to invest in this one, in this company, than the previous one? For you to decide. But have a think about it based on that information. Okay, I think I'd be more likely to invest in the Very Smart Building Company than the previous company, mainly because their turnover's higher, their profit's higher, they've got more money in their bank account, and their share price has gone up steadily over the last 24 months. Okay, last one for you to have a look at. This is Smart Energy Supply. Have a look at this one. Where would you put all your money? If you're going to invest out of these three companies that I've shown you, which one would you put your money into? Have a think about it. Okay, folks, I mean, this looks to me like it might be really important, this statement in green. I hope you can all see that at home, because hopefully it comes up on your screen okay. 50% of Smart Energy Supply is generated from renewable sources. Okay, it's got a turnover of 65,500,000, profit of 10,100,000. They've got over 2 million sitting in the bank account, and their share price has been relatively steady over a 24-month period. That's where I'm going to put my money. Smart Energy Supply Limited. And let's have a look at how the share prices performed on this after this last news flash that we had. Okay, let's have a quick look here. Where's Smart Energy Supply? And you can see here it's gone up 60%. That last one there, 60%. Smart Energy Supply, 60%. The Very Smart Building Company has gone up 10%. So that still would have been a good investment, but Smart Energy Supply would have been the best. And if you look at all the others, this one's going down. So that's a decrease, 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 decrease. That one's going up. It's up 5%, and that one's down 20%. So definitely we've picked the right one here. Smart Energy Supply Limited, 60% increase. So now let's get on and do the trade. Okay, but before we do the trade, okay, I want you to calculate the percentage increases and decreases for each share price. So what I've done here is I've taken the 132 pence and I've decreased the 132 pence by 10%, rounded to the nearest penny, as it says here in blue, to give me 119 pence. And I'd like you to calculate the new share prices for all of the others. So next one would be 1024. Okay, and you're going to increase that by 10%. You're going to increase that by 10%. So have a look at those. I'll give you a couple of minutes to work through those. Use the calculator and work out those new share prices. Okay, just to say, I'll do the next one, just in case you're stuck, I'll do the next one. So it's 1024 pence, and I've got that money from now, and it's going to go up by 10%. So what I've done is I've used the same strategies I showed you earlier on in the session. I've worked out the multiply. I'm going to multiply by 1.1 and then round to the nearest penny. So the answer to that comes out to be 1126.4 pence, but I need to round to the nearest penny, so it's going to be 1126. And if we reveal the answer there, you can see that it is indeed 1126. So if you was stuck, hopefully that will help you. If you could have a go at the others, that would be really helpful. And I'll go through them all and I'll reveal the answers in a minute or so. Just reveal the next couple so you know that you're on the right tracks. Next three I've revealed there. 60% increase. Wow, that's a big increase in one trade. You know, some of you might be interested in Bitcoin and some of these cryptocurrencies. They are very volatile. They jump up and down. Their prices are very volatile. So I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose that means there's big opportunities to make lots of money, but there's also big risks as well. So it is interesting, and lots of students I speak to are younger people are all interested in trying to make their fortunes out of Bitcoin or equivalents. And I think, blimey, it can't be that easy. Okay, I'll reveal the last three as well now, and you can mark your work as you go. Remember, I've rounded to the nearest penny. Okay, so there we go. So that's what we end up with once we've done those percentage increases or decreases. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at the final trade. Now, obviously, those of you that just joined us this week that weren't here last week, you won't have seen this, but we actually had left over in total from last week. That is actually what we had left. We started with 100,000. We turned it into £313,472.92, and we're going to invest that in smart energy. Okay, and we're going to buy at 1796 pence, and we're going to sell at 2874 pence. So what I'm asking you to do is calculate how many shares you can buy as many as you can, and then sell them at 2,874 pence, and try to calculate your profit in money. Now, some of you might not have done this before, but I'm going to give those of you that were here last week a couple of minutes to have a go at it, and then obviously I will work through the answer. But think about it, you're buying at 1,796 pence, and you have £313,472.92 to invest. And then you're going to invest as much as you can, and then you're going to sell them at 2,874 pence. Okay, so try and work through the trade and then calculate your profit in money. Okay, I've converted 1,796 pence into pounds because the initial amount of money is in pounds and this one's in pence, so I need to work in the same unit. So I've decided to change this one into pounds. That was the first thing I did. I'm sure most of you spotted that. It's something that we're quite familiar with, making sure we work in the same unit. And that means I can purchase 17,453 shares. I don't quite have enough money to purchase 17,454 shares. So I've purchased 17,453 shares at the price of £17.96 or 1,796 pence. Okay, and I've then actually done that calculation here. So I purchased 17,453 shares at a cost of £313,455.88. And you notice that's not quite the same value as we started with, but we didn't quite have enough to buy that final share. So there's a little bit left over, and that just goes back into the company bank account. Remember, you're trading someone else's money. I should have said that to those of you that weren't here last week. You're working for a bank and you're doing the trades. So that's £17.04 that was left over from that trade, just goes back into the company bank account. And then finally, we've now got to work out our new value. So what have I done? I take my 17,453 shares, which I've got here, and I multiply it by my new price, and I've left this one as pence to begin with, 2,874 pence. I multiply it by that, okay, and I get 501,599 and 22 pence. That should be in pounds, so let's just convert that, and then we get 501,599 pounds 22 pence. So you can see I've divided that by 100 to get it back into pounds. And to work out your profit in money is really easy now. What did you start with? Okay, what did you spend? You spent £313,455.88, and what have you turned it into? This amount. So you can now subtract them, okay, and you've got £188,126.30 profit. Right, let's have a quick look at what I'm going to ask you to do next, and this is a percentage activity, okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the starting price from the first trade and the finishing price. So this was over a 1 year period, and I want you to have a look at this example. We start at 100 pence and we finish at 119 pence. So what was the overall increase or decrease? Well, clearly it's going to be an increase because the price has gone up. So I've done change in price, which is given by 119 pence subtract 100 pence, divided by the original price, which in this case was 100 pence. So it's 19 pence divided by 100 pence, comes out to be 0.19, and 0.19 times 100 gives me a 19% increase. And just for those of you wondering where that's come from, I've just put a percent change, just a reminder of how it works there on the right hand side. And please be aware you can obviously use your calculator here for this one. So that's how it goes, that's how it works. And the first one, I've just been through there, I've actually put in to my trade already. Okay, you can see it's gone up by 19%. I've put it into the activity. What I'm now asking you to do is to do the same for all of the others. So the Very Smart Building Company starting price was 600 pence when we originally started, and it's gone up to 1,126 pence. To calculate the percentage increase, clearly it's an increase, but you need to calculate that increase. Just to say, I've put it back up here again just as a reminder in case you need it, and round to the nearest whole number. So that's what I'm asking you to do. Calculate the increase or decrease for all of these share prices. And I'll give you a couple of minutes, obviously. We'll need more than a couple, we probably need 3 minutes or so. Okay, I'll just reveal a couple just so that you know that you're on the right tracks. And I'm just going to say here, the Very Smart Building Company, starting price is 600 pence and finishing price is 1,126 pence. I know that that's going to be a really high increase. It's not quite doubled. If I doubled 600, I'd be near to 1,200. I'm not quite there. So I think this increase will be around about 90%, just in my head, common sense checking it. And when I reveal it, it's an 88% increase. So that answer feels right. Obviously I've worked them out and these are correct, but the fact that I'm common sense checking these answers as I go is a really good thing to do. All right, so that's 88% increase. Let's look at the next one. Smart Airlines Limited starts at 820 pence, goes down to 508 pence. That's clearly a decrease, and it's quite a steep decrease. I'm thinking 1, 6, 2, 3. It's probably somewhere around 35%. I'm thinking decrease. Okay, 38% decrease, and I'm checking in my head. I'm using strategies to check roughly that these answers are common sense checking, basically. Okay, Executive Airlines Limited, 80 pence up to 95%. So it has gone up, it has increased, not as much as some of the others, but it looks around about 20%, just under 20% to me. 19% increase. There we go. So let's have a look at the next one. 1,200 pence to 2,874 pence. So this one's more than doubled. Okay, this is interesting. It's more than doubled. So I'd expect my answer to be over 100% increase. Has it trebled? No. So I would expect my answer somewhere to be between 100% and 200%. That's 140% increase to the nearest percentage. Okay, again, that makes sense. 360 pence to 370 pence. Oh, it's going up a tiny bit. This will be single digit increase. 3% increase. 1,560 pence has gone down to 1,400 pence. So it's gone down. So it's a decrease. It hasn't decreased massively, but enough, probably around about the 10% mark. Oh, there you go. It's gone down 10%, 10% decrease. 849 pence down to 818. Again, I'd say single digit decrease, and it's gone down by 4%. So you can see there, we've worked through, we're doing those percentage skills, it's one of the lesson objectives, okay? But I'm also using common sense and knowledge as I go to check my answers. Okay, I'll let you have a look at this one. This is probably something, you've probably done similar questions to this before in year 10 or year 11. Obviously, I know, obviously you haven't been in school for a long time, but you've probably done this. So I'll just go through it. Joseph invests 10,000 in a share scheme and receives an annual increase of 7%. The investment is fixed for 5 years. So basically he's going to get 7% per year. How realistic that is another question, but for this example, we'll go that it's a steady 7%. And you can see here, I've given you some help just in case some of you have sort of not done this for a while. I've sort of given you the 1.07, and I'd like to say, hopefully you all know where that's come from. Okay, and I've done it value after year 1, value after year 2, value after year 3. Do I need to do that all the time? No, I don't. There is a quicker way, and we'll get to that. But have a look at it for a minute or so. Use your calculator and see if you can work out the final answer. Round to 2 decimal places as it's money. Okay, I'll start just revealing some of the answers here. So obviously 7% is easy to work out for the first year. You'd know it'd be £700, so you'd have 10,700 after the year 1. Year 2, it'd be £11,449. Year 3, £12,250 and 43 pence. Starting to get into decimal places now. After year 4, £13,107.96 times by 1.07 again. What do I get? £14,025 and 52 pence. And I'm hoping that some of you just decided to do the calculation slightly quicker, and that you did 10,000 multiplied by 1.07 to the power 5. Now, why to the power 5 in this case? Well, some people just think it's because it's 5 years. It is because it's 5 years. But look at what we've done here. Times by 1.07, times by 1.07, times by 1.07. And if you multiply anything by itself 5 times, it would be to the power 5. You know, if you did 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that would be 2 to the power 5, wouldn't it? And it's no different when you're working with a decimal number like 1.07. So 1.07 multiplied by 1.07 multiplied by 1.07 multiplied by 1.07 multiplied by 1.07. God, I've gone on a bit there. But 1.07 to the power 5, because we've done it 5 times, and that works. And you can see here, when we've done that in the calculator, okay, the answers come out to be the same to 2 decimal places. So why am I focused on doing this? Okay. Well, what happens if the interest rate isn't fixed? What about if it changes? What about if it's not the same from year to year? Could you just do 1.07 to the power 5? No, you couldn't. So you need to know both strategies and not just rely on the formula. Okay, some easy exam questions, literally 2 minutes just to get you warmed up. Nice easy ones. These would be like foundations here at the beginning, or maybe not at the beginning, but then we're going to get on to obviously these harder ones that we showed at the beginning of the session, okay, which would be harder. Okay, I'll go through these easier ones quite quickly because I really want you to get onto the harder ones. The normal price of a dress is reduced by 20%. The normal price is £36.80. So we've got the original price and we've just got to reduce that by 20%. So in my head, I've just done 100% take away 20% is 80%. 80% as a decimal is 0.8. And I've just multiplied £36.80 by 0.8 to give me £29.44. Nice easy one. Okay, I'm sure you all got that. Okay, and even if you could have done it in different ways, but that's just the way we've been doing it during this session, so I've been consistent. Looking at this one here, it asks you to work out the percentage increase in the number of mobile phones sold from April to May and give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So there is some rounding here. Okay, first of all, what is the increase? 91 to 85, it's gone up by 6. So that's the first thing I've calculated, and you can see I've calculated that there. What was the original? 85. So 6 divided by 85, and then multiply that by 100, comes out to be 7.06% to 3 significant figures. So there you go. Okay, that's those easy ones. Let's get on to those trickier ones for the last 4 minutes or so. Okay, I'd like you to work through both of these. Just read them carefully. I have set them up so that I can go through the answers quickly. But this is 5% per annum on this first question. So is the interest rate fixed? Yes. Just be careful with this next one underneath. Okay, you need to choose between the international bank and the friendly bank, but they have different interest. They're both compound interest. It says it here. Okay, but they have different interest rates for the first year and then each year thereafter. So you need to just be careful with this question and spend a little bit more time thinking about it. All right, I'll give you 3 minutes or so before I go through the solutions. Okay, I'm just going to, for the top one, I'm just going to reveal the calculation that I did. So Mario invests £2,000 for 3 years at 5% per annum compound interest. So the initial investment, the original amount is £2,000. 3 years at 5% per annum. I'm thinking straight away in my mind, 100%, and this is what we've been doing all through today's session, is 105%. And divide that by 100, I get 1.05, and that's the multiplier, that's the key. And now I'm thinking 3 years, as it's 5% per annum, that's fixed, and it'd be 1.05 to the power 3 times by the original amount, and you can see there that's what I've done under there. So I've done 2,000 multiplied by 1.05 cubed, then I've rounded to 2 decimal places. I don't think I needed to round to 2 decimal places when I did it on the calculator. It actually came out to 2 decimal places already. So the answer would be £2,315.25. And there you go. Alright, so that was the first one. I'll give you a little bit longer for the one underneath because it requires a bit more thought. And you probably can see that I've sort of tried to be helpful by setting up the boxes. This is kind of how I visualise problems like this sometimes. I actually just still do this, even though obviously I've done it lots of times as a teacher. Okay, so let's have a look at the international bank first. We know that Viv is going to invest £2,000 for 2 years in the same bank. So what that means is they're going to put the £2,000 and leave it in the same bank. They're not going to take it out and move it around. And it asks which bank should she invest in, and there's 2 offers here. The international bank compound interest is 4% for the first year, and then 1% for each year after that, for each extra year. And the friendly bank starts off with 5% for the first year, and then it's 0.5% for each extra year, and it's a 2-year period. So what you can see here is I've set it up. I've set up the initial amount on both sides. I've split my screen in half here. So let's deal with the international bank first of all. The first thing I'm going to do is work out the multiplier for the first year, which is going to be 1.04 because it's a 4% interest rate for the first year. And then for the second year, what's it going to be? I'm sure most of you did this. It's going to be 1.01. So initially I'm going to do the £2,000, which I've got here. That's my original amount. I'm going to multiply it by 1.04, and I'm going to get £2,080. I'm then going to take that 2,080 and multiply that by 1.01 to increase it by 1%. And that's going to give me £2,100.80. So that's how much you'd have at the end of 2 years if Viv puts it in with the international bank. So same mechanism, but we're now going to look at the friendly bank. Okay, 5% for the first year. Okay, times 1.05. So that's going to be 2,100. Do that one in our heads almost. But then after that, it's going to be 0.5%. So the multiplier for that one would be 1.005. And a lot of students might get caught out there. They might end up multiplying it by 1.05 again by accident. And think about it, it can't possibly be the same thing. Looking at the question, it can't be. But that's a mistake that you'd see in this type of question. 2,100 multiplied by 1.005 will give me £2,110.50. And we can see here that £2,110.50 is greater than £2,100.80. So what does that mean? It means the friendly bank would be where Viv puts her money because she wanted to have as much money as possible at the end of the 2-year period. And I know I've run a little bit over, so apologies there, but I did want to finish off on that question because that's a more problem-solving type question that involves investments. So I hope you enjoyed that session, finishing off the stock exchange and moving on to sort of more compound interest type questions. If you have got time for any feedback, we would really appreciate it because obviously problem solving is the focus and we are trying really, really hard to work on those questions that a lot of pupils find hard to access. And we'll see you for the next one, hopefully next week, which will be Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.